Ooh, that looks tasty. Welcome, folks. Stay the Hungry Gamer is back with another episode of Dialing It In with Dani and Don. And today, for the first time, we actually have a guest game picker. Yay. The man, the myth, the legend, Doug, who has joined us. He is a Sovereignty super fan, meaning it may make him also my digital overlord. I'm not quite sure how that works. And so he's been kind enough to pick all the games today, which means I'm going to talk even less than usual, which will be great for everybody. And I will say, he did more research than I have done since I got my master's degree. I mean, it is paragraphs of information about each game in the spreadsheet that he sent us. So it is impressive. And it is possible that Doug has backed every game currently on Kickstarter right now. Doug, tell us a little bit about yourself, and is that actually true? I think it is.
Thank you for having me, Will. Pleasure to be here. I haven't backed every game on Kickstarter because there's a lot of games on Kickstarter, but I earned my super backer flag on Kickstarter quite some time ago, and they don't have a next level, so I've just kind of been stuck there for like 2 years. I have backed actually all the games we're going to talk about today. So other than the very last one, which I'm waiting for it to launch, and it will be backed as well.
Yeah, which is good because Dani and Don don't back anything as soon as they talk about them. Like, so it used to be that Don, I would get notifications every Tuesday, and it would be multiple things backed by Don. And I think he thought I was shaming him, which I was, but it's slowed down a bit, and so I've been concerned. But now we have Doug, so everything's good. Dani doesn't back anything ever. I don't know what's up, how she gets games.
They just show up.
That's true. Look at that one over your shoulder. Someone hand delivered that to you.
This is true. And then another one that you sent me is hidden. You can't see it.
Oh,
I can tell you exactly where it is, though. It's right here.
Oh, what's it behind? Is it Mariposas?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Moonrakers did not earn a front spot.
Okay, that's because look at the sizes of them. They all need to be like that size.
Time to get new shelving.
Well, you see, I am maxed out on space in my house. So
I don't know. There's space for like
that's also
a 2x3 Kallax next to that.
No, because this wall, you can't really see it. This wall like is not flat. It like turns.
So well, 1x3. Just stack it up.
You don't need to be able to open storage that door down there. Yeah, you don't need to be able to come into this office. No, this is also my guest room. It has a multi-purpose function.
Maybe more people will come visit if there's more games.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the problem. Maybe she doesn't want people to come visit.
Maybe I'll have to just get rid of my my guest bed. They don't have plenty of room.
Right? They can make a bed out of games.
Yeah,
that's the reason for all my empty space is I got rid of my guest bed so that I can put up a cable.
That makes
there was a bed there that you got rid of?
Yeah, it's being replaced by games. I don't need friends, just games.
Games are your friends. They never argue.
Exactly.
Never argue.
All right.
Okay. And all I have to do to get them to come over is to back them.
You just have to wait a year.
Exactly.
Or 2 years. Hey, you want to come hang out? Yeah, I'll be there in 2 years. All right. Don, how you doing? We've been babbling. You've just been sitting there.
Oh, I'm good. Yeah, I was going to say we back stuff. You just don't ever pick the games that we back.
I didn't pick anything this time.
I have 3 games that are currently backed that haven't ended that are not on this list.
Yeah, and I will say, one of the games I put on early on, not only did you back, you have, and you like.
That's true. That's a first for this series. I backed Resist, which is a solo-only game, which is unusual for me. And it is fantastic. It is so much fun.
I've seen lots of that on BGG recently.
I'm mostly dumbfounded you already have it.
It was fast.
Yeah, that was fast.
Bizarre to me that's something that you already have. Like, I mean, that's because we haven't been, I know we don't do this very often, but we've only been doing what, 3 months?
Something like that.
No, I think it's a little longer than that.
It just feels it just feels like that when you talk with me.
That is definitely quick for a game to be fulfilled.
Is it all card based? Remind me.
It's all cards and it's a small box.
Okay.
It very well could have been in production already when the campaign was happening. That happens now and then.
Sure.
Yeah, they knew the designers, like, yeah, this is gonna sell. Yeah, I backed one game, half because I thought it looked like it might be fun, and half because it was September and they promised delivery by December, and I was like, let's find out. That was the this one right here, the Galaxy Hunters, the big old stompy mechs, Don, where you know, it's got too many resources, but it's kind of satisfying anyway.
Yeah, that's my review of it. It has too many resources.
Yeah, way too many resources, and it's got some rule problems, need some house rules, but it's
fun.
Yeah, it just, you know, it's enjoyable. But yeah, and it showed up, I think, in late January, and it's got miniatures and stuff in there. So I was like, huh. And then of course the company shut down. So that was IDW.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. But anyhow, enough about my nonsense. We want to know what games Doug cares about. And so we're starting with the top one. And the first one is one that a lot of people have heard about. Everyone's talking about it. And that is the Fox Experiment, which is currently got 6 days to go. So by the time this video shows up, we'll have about 4 days left. And it's almost at $500,000. And it is from Pandasaurus. And it's looks like about $55 for the game. All right. So we'll start out. Doug, why'd you pick this one?
Well, I got to be honest. Every day I start my day, I look through the new Kickstarters. I kind of look to see what was coming, what the new campaigns are. And this one, I was a little concerned about when I first saw it. I looked at it, I was like, the Fox Experiment. So it's a game about foxes. Not sure how much that's going to grab me. But as soon as I opened it up, the very first thing you see on the page is another hit from Elizabeth Hargrave, which hopefully everyone knows was the designer of Wingspan. Wingspan is one of my, if not my favorite all-time game. It got me through many days in the pandemic quarantine with the digital version. I've upgraded and blinged out my cardboard version, so I've got all the little eggs and all that stuff. So
real birds in the box?
No, but I have real birds' nests in the box. So there's actually a company that sells the bird's nest to hold the eggs while you play. Wow. Although you do get sticks and stuff everywhere, so you got to be careful.
Oh, it's very fragile.
Yes, absolutely. So that immediately perked me up. And when I started looking through it, it looks like it's going to be another really good game by her. Basically, it's emulating an experiment in the 50s where scientists were trying to redo the domestication of dogs using foxes. So they were trying to use selective breeding to get the best foxes, the most friendly foxes, and make them domesticated. And basically you do that by, you pick 2 foxes to start with, you breed them, they have a litter. According to the parents, you can roll trait dice and assign the trait dice to the pups. Once the round ends, the pups all go into the kennel, and then you select 2 more to be parents for the next round. So you're trying to get those traits to carry over as you go through. It runs in 5 rounds, and at the end of the 5 rounds, you basically score points for personal objectives. You draw patrons at the beginning of the game, which have public objectives, and you get points for trait tokens that you've earned. And if your fox was the friendliest fox of a round, you get a bonus point.
That's also fun to say. Now, Don, you got a couple kids. Is that how it works? You just roll some dice and that's how they get their traits?
It's easy.
Huh. I didn't know that. I mean, did Jess roll the dice, or did she let you do it?
There's a whole ceremony involved. There's a lot to get into.
Gotcha. All right, that's fair. That's fair. All right, let's start with Danny. What do you think? What do you think?
Okay, well,
you got top billing, so we always have to start with you.
Well, thank you. So I do love Pandasaurus games, so I was immediately drawn to that because almost every game I play from them, I really enjoy. So I was excited about that. It plays 2 players, which, Doug, you'll find out that if a game isn't 2 players, it's very rare that I will back it because usually that's my player count at home. So that was exciting to see. The rules seem like simple in like a good way to like pick up and learn this game. I might take a playthrough like usual. I like the simultaneous play, and you get bonus points based on like, it sounds like a variety of different things. Like you can strategize a little bit differently. Yeah, I liked it. There wasn't anything that was stopping me for this one. It all looked good to me. So
I like the deluxe Fox Meeples. I don't know if you've checked those out. The
I thought the price point was really good too, because it's base. The retail is 55. Kickstarter edition with the special prints is 60, and you could do an all-in for $100 that included neoprene player mats, which I thought was really nice for $100.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
All right, Don, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm gonna start with that $5 upgrade from basic to deluxe, or they're calling it Kickstarter edition. Like, they easily could have said you're going to go from $55 to $70, and Kickstarter backers wouldn't have blinked. So I'm really impressed by the restraint in that. And you get a lot of upgrades for that $5. So that's kind of cool. I think that's bringing them a lot of backers. I'm also a big fan of Wingspan. I'm also a huge fan of Pandasaurus. I think their production quality is great. I have to say, I'm not super drawn in by the theme on this one. I love unusual themes, and this kind of feels like putting a cool new theme on a kind of a tech tree engine, if I'm kind of following the gameplay right, but it still doesn't grab me. And I have to say, I like the wooden foxes more than the printed. Are they acrylic?
Plastic, screen printed plastic. Well, you can also get an additional 60 wooden Fox Meeples.
Yes, for $3 with $3.50. Yeah. So I appreciate that they did that, because there are going to be people who want those wooden Fox Meeples.
Yeah, who want the deluxe but like those better.
Yeah. So it's a great campaign. It's really well organized. The options are awesome.
All right.
Yeah, and they actually listened to the backers, because originally they weren't doing the Fox Meeple add-on. And a bunch of people said, well, I want that for my deluxe edition, even though that's supposed to be the standard edition. So they actually added that on.
Ooh.
And all again, restraint on the price there.
Yeah. All right. What's the verdict here? We know what Doug's doing. Doug's already backed 30 copies of it. Doug, how many extra bits of Fox Meeples are you adding on?
Just one. Got to at least get the base set. But the way I look at it, if you're not going to go all in, you shouldn't be back.
That's why every publisher, if Doug is not on your email list, you are making a mistake. All right. Don, what's your verdict? Backing, you're right out, or you hit remind me?
I am not backing this, and I'm not hitting remind me. It's intriguing. I'd like to play it sometime, but it doesn't grab me. I love Elizabeth Hargrave. I enjoy her other games. This one's just not for me at this point.
You just hate history and friendly foxes. Got it. Okay.
Right.
Danny?
I will be backing this one.
Oh my gosh. Is this a first?
I know, it's been a lot. No, there was some in like our earlier videos.
Wow. Back in our youth when Danny
Pandasaurus is probably one of our, like, behind the dinosaur world is like an entirety of Pandasaurus. We love them in our house. So
yeah, I love the loop. I really, really like the loop.
I actually haven't played that one.
Oh, you're so wrong. You're doing your life wrong.
I know.
Yeah, so I really like that. And they just sent me Dinosaur Roar and Write. So
I like it. That's one of our recent plays at our house.
Doug, you're shaking your head. Is that a good one?
Yeah, I like that one. And I do. I try to aim at indie developers a lot, because I think that's what Kickstarter's for, is to help back the games that otherwise wouldn't happen and get these companies up and running. But yeah, Pandasaurus produces such good games that you have to just give them credit. So the combination of Pandasaurus and Elizabeth designing it, absolutely.
Yeah, one of the things I love about Pandasaurus stuff is I always like how they look, even if I don't mind not liking the game. Like Brew, which I didn't love the game, but it looks so great. It was
Just
yeah, it's not that I didn't like the game. It's one that my wife wouldn't play with me because it's real mean. Like it seems all cute and sweet
it
and
is
kind,
mean.
and then you're just like,
Yeah.
I'm gonna burn down your forest. How about that?
Especially in two players when like you're just attacking the other person. It's like, oh, leave me alone.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. So it's
yeah.
well, wasn't for that for this house, but yeah, I really like it. All right. So that's a nice start. We have our first winner for Dani in months.
Yay.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
mean that
Hopefully I
makes me
have
feel better
space.
starting right there. I
And
mean,
what
if
the
I can
question
convince
is,
Danny to back it.
can Doug get at least one of them to back all six? That would be key, because the best we've done so far is like 2 backs and like 3 remind me's, none of which we backed, I don't think. Though I will say, Dani does now have a copy of Moonrakers, which she specifically said that she wanted to try based on
I
the
do
video.
want to try it.
So we'll we'll count
That's
that.
usually a lot of my reaction is I like to play games first, get a feel for it. As much
Yeah,
as I can
well,
watch a video, I have to play it because that's just the type of learner I am.
yeah, well, Doug is every publisher's dream. Dani is every publisher's nightmare. It's like, yeah,
Like,
but
I have
I'd
to
like to just
teach it to
try
you.
it. Ooh.
I know. I'm sorry.
All right. So number 2, let's take a look. The next one we got on the list, and this one I actually don't know anything about. And this is called Atlas Lost: Rise of the New Sovereigns. And so for the people, for those of you watching, when someone else comes in and picks the games, I just pick what you want. I have zero involvement. And in this case, until we started, I didn't even look at the list, with the exception of one game on there, which we'll talk about at the end. But so Atlas Lost: Rise of the Sovereigns, discover old world technology and form a great community in a collapsed world. Ooh, that actually sounds pretty cool. Dang it. You might have gotten me, Doug. And this one has 1,500 backers and just about $150,000 raised, with a base pledge of, let's take a look here. Holy smoke. 8,980. I don't know. What is that? Yen, maybe? So
Yeah.
about $63. All right. So Doug, well, why'd you pick this one?
So this checked a lot of boxes for me. The first, it is a fairly new company, fairly new publisher. They are, which again, I think that's the reason for Kickstarter, is I like to find the new kind of the gems in the rough. But this has got a lot of good things to it. It is sci-fi based. They are hoping that if this one does well, they're going to build an Atlas Lost world around this. So there'll be multiple games, which I also like to see multiple games in the same world with the same theme. But what really caught my attention beyond everything else is the variability in play. So it's basically a tech tree civilization game, but it has 5 tech trees and you only play 3 per game. And depending on how you arrange them, it changes the game. So if military is in the A spot versus the C spot, it plays differently. So every game can really have a different feel. And not only that, it's a race to the finish. This isn't we're going to play 5 rounds and see who wins. There are like 4 different ways to win. And if you get to any of them at the end of a round, you win the game. It's over right then and there. So you really can't just focus on yourself and what you're doing. You have to pay attention to what everybody else is doing. Because one of the win conditions is to be ahead in everything. Doesn't have to be a minimum. You just have to be ahead in every track. And there's 4 tracks. And you win the game at the end of the turn. So I love the fact that it's kind of a Euro game and it's got that engine building tech tree feel, but it really is a race to see who can get there first. So you're kind of on edge, like I got to keep him from getting that.
And so in what is a first? I'm going to pause here. And everyone, you can watch. I'm hitting remind me right now, because that kind of sold me a little bit.
Yeah,
And
I think it's going to be a really good one. It's already funded. It's well above its funding. It's at a good price point. It's not extremely expensive. and the replayability, I think, is just going to be awesome.
Yeah, a lot of my decision is going to be based on how Don talks about this, if I keep this back or not, or if I wind up backing. So, but between what Don thinks about this and what Streamline Matt thinks about this game, that's going to really determine what I do here. So let's start with Don, because I'm very tempted, because we know Danny's going to say I have to play it first. So we'll come back. Go ahead, Don.
Yeah, this one's really intriguing. Tech trees don't always win with me, but this one looks really interesting. The variability looks really interesting, like Doug talked about. The game time is not bad. 40 to 90 minutes for 1 to 4 players is pretty quick, so it's not going to overstay its welcome, assuming that time is accurate. It isn't always. It looks like a great production. All the little meeples are interesting. Those little circles that go around them are kind of weird. You'll have to look at that, Will, but I forget what they call those. But there are little ways to upgrade kind of the power of your meeples as you put them out on the board.
Are they little like base snap-on things?
They're economy tokens. No, they're just little wooden tokens.
I think they just like slide next to it.
Yeah.
Oh,
right?
yeah. Like the culture tokens and influence markers and those types of things. Yeah.
So it kind of looks
the
like they're at a
upgrades-
workstation or something.
Yep, the upgrades go around the little wooden meeples, so it upgrades the meeple itself, not just the unit.
Yeah, so I'm intrigued by this one. I really would like to play this one. My biggest hesitation is I watched the video and immediately thought this game has a big learning curve to it, and you're gonna have to play it a lot to really appreciate it. Which, it has all that variability, which helps with that. But I also have a lot of games.
Yeah, I wonder if they have a TTS module, because we should all try it if they do.
Was it this one or a different one that had that? Let me see.
There were a couple that did. I don't think this one does. I was trying to look.
Oh, look at that. Shipping. If we just go to Japan, shipping is free.
Oh.
That's cool.
So those are my comments on
also
it so far.
Yeah, and I haven't seen a whole lot of games coming out of Japan, so that's another reason that it attracted me right off.
Yeah, you usually see smaller games coming out of Japan for some reason, like little trick-taking games and that sort of thing. So yeah, this is really interesting.
Yep. All right, Danny, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so Don, I'm glad you said that it looks like a big learning curve, because that's how I felt every time I tried to like read the next thing. I'm like, I just don't get it. Like, it seems a little too complicated for me to like enjoy like right away. I can imagine you would enjoy it a lot after you play it many times, which is great. I just seem a little confused. I like the different, like, I like that it's an engine builder. You can like build as you go. There's different ways to win, which I also really liked. How it's not like, okay, next round. It's like, no, you're actually like, you could win if you make one of the scenarios.
Boy, Danny, you're supposed to be like the nightmare at the cons. You go to someone's booth, you're like, okay, next round.
Like, no, but like,
come demo
I know,
with
like
Danny.
sometimes it's like you're like, I don't know, like I enjoy that it's different than other games. Like that was intriguing to me, but it reminded me. Correct me if I'm wrong, because Doug, you've played Planet Unknown before. Every time I kept reading it, I kept reading about like the different, it reminded me so much of the Planet Unknown like tracks, which I do love. Like I love to like advance those and get different things, but I think this is a whole nother step to it. So I don't know. I would love to be able to play this game.
Yeah, it's definitely tech tree driven, but it's the tech trees actually upgrade all of your explorers and your meeples and stuff. So yeah, so it's a little bit more than just leveling up, and a lot of the tech trees have branches in it. So if you branch in one direction, you can't go back to the other techs. So you have to be really careful where you're branching up to in each.
I wonder if, now that you're saying that, if it becomes a bit fiddly as you're going to trying to remember, okay, well, my explorer actually can do this, and this, or is everything just really on like the things you're dropping onto that meeple? Because if it's easy to track that stuff, that's great. If you're finding you're forgetting stuff, that's always the worst. Because then you have that, oh, I forgot my Explorer actually is able to go 2 spaces and costs 1 less resource and gets a free thing of fries. So we have to go back. You know what I mean?
Undo.
Yeah, and it's supposed to, it's kind of a race to the first where you get unique resources as you're the first person there, but you also get the cards that give you the abilities. So it should be fair. It's kind of like an engine builder where you're building your abilities as well as the tech tree. Again, I would love to play it, but it will be in my collection, so that'll be an option.
Yeah, and then it's got a campaign thing that goes with it. It's got solo mode.
Yeah, that's cool that they have
And
multiple
again, a
options.
really good price point to
Yeah.
what you get.
Yeah.
And then I will say the tracks, the types of tracks are interesting to me when some of the stuff they put here. So you got science, yes, we always have that. You have economy, great, you always have that. Culture, you usually have that. And then you have military, but then they have like religion. I think that's fascinating. That and the religion track has the most level of interaction. They also they're ranking how much second most level of interaction. They're kind of ranking the amount of interaction that you have with each other on these tracks. And I think that's an interesting little idea they're bringing into it. Like,
Mhm.
you know, religion causes all these, conflicts, whatever. So they're actually digging into it. I'll be curious to see, are they digging into it like real style, or they'd have their made up future religions, digging into that. I don't know. But anyhow, Don, what are you doing?
I cannot wait to play your copy, Will. This is an interesting game. I'm just, I've said this on previous episodes, but I'm in kind of a restraint mode right now. So I'm not backing nearly as many games as I usually would. As you said, the game room, as big as it is bursting at the seams, and I'm having to sell games en masse for the first time. So I am not backing this one at this point. I'm really intrigued by it. If you do find a TTS mod for it, I'd love to play it with you and see if I'm wrong about this one. But I fear it wouldn't get to the table enough.
Yeah, that's how I usually go with it. So I'm gonna. I hate to remind me just so I can go back and dig in a little deeper later. Danny, I'm guessing no go for you.
No go for me on this one. Just doesn't seem like my kind of game.
All right. Well, so you made me remind me, so that counts. So you're not out yet. You're still 2 for 2 in my book.
That'll work. It's and I'm showing restraint too. I'm kind of in a restraint, so I'm not backing as many as I used to. Only a few a week. So,
All right. So the next one, another one. Again, I don't know much about, or actually anything about, the Age of Inventors. And this one is run your lab, purchase equipment, recruit inventors such as Einstein, Tesla, and Marie Curie, and help them advance humanity's progress. Currently, it's got 650 backers and just coming up on $34,000. And your base pledge, just to get in on it, is about $48. And your deluxe pledge is $58. And let's see, I think Doug, so what about this one that got you excited?
So even though it's not steampunk, to me it gave me the steampunk feel, because you're kind of in that era. And it's the era where you're actually inventing all the technologies that shape the world. So you're back in the 19th century, you're dealing with, all of these inventors that were working on stuff back then, and you get to kind of mold those inventions and decide where and how society is going to use them. So it may be, we're inventing the steam engine, but you put a different twist on it so that it advances history differently than what it originally did. It is a worker placement and action selection game. I'm a huge sucker for worker placements. It is also a first-time publisher. So again, I kind of keep an eye on that, because especially this looks really good for a first-time publication. And to me, that means if I can help these folks get going, what are they going to do next? And what's going to be the game after that? There's always great games out there that are going to be great. They're going to have the Kickstarters. Nothing's going to change. It's just a pre-order system for them. And that's fine. I love those games, but I can get those games retail. These are the games that if I don't back them and help them and tell people about them, they're never going to be. And that's the kind of game that I latch on to. And I say, I really want to see how this will work.
All right, Dani, you're up.
I
dare
really
you to say
intrigued by
no
this one.
after that pitch.
No,
Like that
I
was
really
a
liked this
heartstring
one.
tugging pitch.
I know. Yes. No, I really liked it. I'm still a little confused about like how the tiles get played and why you would play them that way. But still, while being confused, I still really liked everything else. So I will figure that out as we go. But I like the theme of it because this is one of my favorite times to like teach about when I was a teacher. It's just really fascinating to me. So I liked the theme and the playing. It all sounds good to me. So I'm excited.
And you're big into worker placement too, right? Am I just wrong? I'm just wrong.
No, I don't think I've played enough to really know how I feel about it. Because I've really only played Lost Ruins of Arnak. Has it? What else? I'm sure I've played more, but like I just haven't played enough of it to know whether I like really like it or not. You know.
Oh, so yeah, I'm just wrong. I'm thinking of somebody else. That's all right. All right, Don, what are your thoughts?
I'm really intrigued by this game. I love worker placement. I love action selection, even though my son hates that term because he says everything in games is action selection, so it can't be a unique mechanic.
Oh, teenagers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's accurate.
And tile placement is great. I love that. My wife did something she never does and sat and looked at all these Kickstarters with me last night. So I had some comments from her. As we started watching the video, they showed the little dials turning and stuff. And she's like, oh, I like turning stuff. She was really intrigued by this. And then, they start flipping through all the inventors and she's like, oh, there's another old white dude. There's another old white dude. There's another old white dude. And you scroll down the page and they show Marie Curie like 6 times. Like that was the only woman they could find in this entire era that did anything. And so that is kind of a turnoff with this game. There's just not any real diversity or representation in the game. And I know the time period is very man-centric, but it still feels a little weird. And that's kind of the one big negative that came out of looking at this. And so I don't know. I think those are my thoughts. Like the production looks amazing and especially for a first-time publisher, like Doug said.
All right. So what are our verdicts here? Dani?
I have clicked the remind me.
Ooh, you're safe, Doug. You're safe. Don?
I think we're out on this one.
All right.
I think I would be in trouble if it came into the house after my wife made all those comments.
Yeah, no, you did have
I absolutely agree with her, but yeah.
You do have the 1-word reviews from your wife. So, but we forgot the first 2. What were her first 2 1-word reviews? They
were actually more than 1 word. I did write down a comment from her. I wasn't sure if I was going to include them or not.
Oh, sure. Yeah, let's hear them. So the first one was our Fox experiment.
Fox experiment. Her fun comment was, I feel like there's going to be a Jurassic Park outcome that I don't want because it's genetic manipulation. Atlas Lost, it looks like the same as all the other games, was her comment.
Wow.
That's her comment about a lot of games, of course.
Yeah. So yeah,
and
Don's wife does not mess around.
She does not.
There's no messing around.
She does not.
There's no care about the feelings either when the comments come. It's great. All right.
And the one comment on this one was, I like turning things. So yeah, I think we're out on this one, as interesting as it looks.
All right.
Yeah, and it's definitely anything that's themed in that age. You do unfortunately get that feel. So it's do you want that theme and do you want to stay true to the theme or do you want to move past the theme? That's definitely some games out there that I've been like, ooh, that just feels wrong.
And they did manage
true to the theme.
Yeah, they did manage to fix that for World's Fair 1893. It originally came out like this, a whole bunch of, white dudes making stuff, and they got feedback on that and they released a new version, and it has, Frederick Douglass, who was at that World's Fair, and just like a bunch of other characters added, or historical figures added, I should say.
Yeah, a lot of times it becomes if you dig in and you really dig down into your research, there it exists, but often you got to have someone actually go do that, and it's not like a quick, easy search, because that's not what was being recorded. But anyhow, I'm not going to belabor it. So we got one remind me, one out, and of course Doug has 17 copies coming.
Mhm.
All right, next one. We have Rise and Fall, which I'm guessing is a civilization game. That's what it sounds like. All right, build up a unique world to make your nation thrive in the latest game from Christoph Bollinger. Wow, Dungeon Twister. Wow, that's an old one. All right, we got $110,000 off of about closing in on 1,000 backers. And our base pledge here is, it looks like about $58 or $87, which I guess is the mid-level pledge, or $122 for the big pledge. Oh, nope, there's a bigger one. So, oh no, that's only 2 copies. So there we go. So that's what we got for that. And I think we're Doug, what is your reason behind this one?
So it's definitely a tile lane civilization building game. And I will go into one of the things I do like about the 2 copies, because there's a reason for that. There's a very specific reason for that. But this plays 2 to 4 players normally. They did unlock solo and co-op as part of the stretch goals. So that is going to be available. But I think the thing that drew me in on this is it's really an easy game to play and teach. But it's different every time, because what you do is you start the game by the players build the world. So you take turns placing tiles, and you start with like all the water tiles, and everybody places water tiles. And there's rules that you have to follow, like a placement can't overhang. It has to be on top of another tile once you go past the water. But you basically lay out all of these tiles in this big map, and then you start playing. So there's a portion of the playing that's actually building the world that you're going to play on. And then you each have 6 different meeple types, and each of those meeples has a card that has the actions on it. And you pick those in they're hidden when you pick them, so you can't tell what everyone else is playing. And you all lay it down at the same time, and then you can all take an action that meeple would be able to take. So you've got like temples, merchants, cities, ships, nomads, and mountaineers. And each of them has special abilities that you can do. And you just place them out according to the actions. And once you've finished all of your rounds, the game's over. You just score it. So it's a pretty easy, it's not like a very quick game, but it's pretty easy to learn. And yeah, I thought it would just be something that would you wouldn't have to take a whole lot to teach, or it wouldn't overwhelm a new player starting. Now, the great thing about it is, and like I was talking about with the 2 copies, the base game comes with 2 different color sets of meeples. So each one is a set 1 or a set 2. If you get them both, it plays up to 8 players. So you can literally combine the 2 games to have an 8-player game with this massive map taking up, the whole table.
Yeah, I've always been interested in the games that try to do that, because there was a game that I covered in the middle of the pandemic called Over Battle, and he sent me the neoprene playmat, and the neoprene playmat was 4 feet by 8 feet. And we just moved in this house, and Streamline Matt really wanted me to try it, but pandemic. So I had to set up my computer angled the right way and have my phone logged into Zoom also, so I could zoom in on stuff. And I was literally sitting on this mat on the floor. And the shtick with that is, if you have 2 copies of it, you can put a wormhole down and have 16 players playing on 2 4x8 tables, going back and forth. And I was thinking to myself, no one is ever going to do that. That is never going to happen. That is ridiculous. But you're saying that you like that's part of the draw here. Like you would actively seek that out. Like that other game, there's no way I would ever do that. I would run away screaming.
No, yeah, I for some reason every time I want to play a 4-player game, I have 5 people show up. Every single time. If I'm
Mhm.
dying to get 5 people, 4 always show up. So I like the game that if I want to sit down and play Rise and Fall, it doesn't matter if I have 2 to 8 people, I can still play it. And that's kind of the flexibility I want. Especially, I do have those friends that if you take more than 10 minutes to explain it, they're like, "Can we play a card game?" So I want something that they can play, and it kind of reminded me of like Cascadia, which they loved, because that's a great gateway game. And this would be something that they would look at and say, "Oh, this reminds me of that," and they'd be willing to sit down and learn it. So it's
So-
kind of like the next step of the gateway.
Right. So am I hearing that you have backed 2 copies?
Yes.
And the one thing I just want to highlight real quick, because I'm sure either Don or Danny is going to say it, but I have to highlight this as I was going through. The settler level meeples that you get are crazy pants. Like they're just screen printed. It looks like you're putting the stuff together. You're putting little riders on the mountaineers that look like they're riding tigers, and they're just crazy. Whether that's good or bad, I don't know. I leave that to you guys to talk about, but it made me smile on the inside. I don't smile outside loud, but smile on the inside. All right, Don, I think you're up first this time.
Yeah, and you're talking about the top level pledge where they're all
The
UV printed, which is not a term I think I'd seen before.
Yeah, no, I don't know what that means, but I don't know
Yeah.
what mod means.
It's screen printed but fancier.
Did they screen printed out in the sun?
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe they're shiny, like when you get that UV
Oh yeah, that's the UV spot
bling
sheet
on
and
the
stuff.
box. Yeah. So I'm super intrigued by this one. The variable board setup, the bunches of meeples and buildings and everything are really cool. It has an amazing looking organizer that it comes with, which, like we scrolled past the little animation of it all going past, and my wife said, "Oh, you do like a good organizer," which of
You're
course
like,
is not a good
you know
enough
me
reason
so
to buy
well,
a
sweetie.
game. Yeah. But this one's
Though
super
it does
intriguing.
have, I have it up right now, the little GIF
Mhm.
of it. Like with our meeples and monsters, it
Mhm.
does want you just to drop the stuff loose, the
But
meeples
yeah,
loose into the top.
it does look like it's gonna. Yeah, but Meeples and Monsters want you to put all the different colors in one bin. This one at least separates them, and they're separate boxes you can hand out to the players, which I always love.
That's true. That's true. All right. So anyhow,
So
back
so
to
this
the
one looks really good. The play time says 20 minutes per player, and I kept thinking this is a lot of stuff for 20 minutes per player. But again, that's intriguing. It does sound like maybe it's not going to overstay its welcome. And I agree with Doug. Like everything about this says this is easy to get to the table and easy to teach, and it's going to be a very accessible game.
Yeah,
I
I'll
don't
be
know.
curious. I'm curious about the building of the board, because
Mhm.
well, Don knows I love Cosmic Frog. It's a ridiculous, chaos-driven insanity game.
But
But
it
the
does take
building
a
of the
minute to set
board,
up.
yeah, it takes a minute, and then if you're building this board with strategy, because Cosmic Frog, you just throw it out there.
Mhm.
But if you're actually trying to strategize about this, and so you're playing a mini game before you play your game, and you don't win the mini game, it's just you do it. So be very, very, very curious how that plays out.
Yeah, I wonder if that would quickly become something you just do randomly, because it would depend on how much that affects the game. But like my wife said, I kind of like that everybody builds the board. That's her quote for this game. I looked at
I
that.
like that. I kind of like that's like high
Yeah,
praise.
but I looked at it. Well, she said it after I said that looks really tedious. So because I said like when something has a whole lot of pieces like this, you really wanted to make the first game of the night, so you set it up before everybody comes over. But this game doesn't let you do that. And maybe I'm overthinking it, but yeah, I agree. The Cosmic Frog comparison is a good one.
Yeah,
That's a
could, I
much
mean,
smaller footprint game and takes a while to set up.
yeah. I mean, I know my wife would just build it based on what looks pretty, and I can't ever
Sure.
fault that because that's often fun.
It's a solid strategy.
Yeah. Um, All right, Danny, what are your thoughts?
Well, I liked also that it's easy, it sounds like, for new players to pick up, because that's oftentimes if like I'm not playing with my husband, that's who we're playing with. Or I have to teach the game, which I love a lot of the time, but sometimes I have to learn it really quick and then teach it. And that's not as exciting for me. But when it's sometimes it's so much nicer when you can just teach them really quickly. So I'm hoping that that's what this means. I'm interested, like with the civilization cards, what it looks like if you all were to pick the same like strategy. Like, does that become more of a like battle? Would it become easier if like one person didn't pick that strategy? Maybe I'm misunderstanding like which card you take and if you can change that. But I'm curious how that might play out differently. And yeah, it looks great. I am still learning about it. I'm glad you two went first because I learned a lot as you talked. So, yeah.
I'm looking at this in the scoring notepad. Like it looks like it's some complex scoring going on here. I mean, that's like a
you're right.
Yeah, like that looks like a part of your husband's work, Danny. Like that's right.
Spreadsheets. Good. Yeah, he usually does all the scoring. It's not my job. I teach it. He does the scoring.
That was another comment from my wife. She's like, "Oh, you do like a paper scoring pad," because I always appreciate it when there's one in the box, and there are 2 games at least here. Yeah.
Sometimes it looks more complicated than it is, though. I at least like that if sometimes it's like that. Like for example, like in the Isle of Cats, like it looks like a lot, but it's just broken up. So it's just like, oh, okay, it's really
it's actually
easy,
making it easier.
but it makes it it makes sense, even though it might at first glance look more complicating. So
all right.
And my understanding is you're just doing it per meeple type. So it's just 6 different scores, because what happens is when you build out the map, if you control a continuous area, like say there's a great big ocean, so there's a lot of water still connected, and you control that, you get points for every hex in that ocean. So that's part of the strategy with building it is if you think you're going to take it, you want it to be larger. If you think you're not going to mess with it and you want to focus on something else, you want to make sure it's broken up into little bitty spots of water so that someone doesn't get that massive score at the end. So that's kind of the area control portion of it. So if you're going to focus on boats, you want a lot of water. So,
all right, Danny, what's your verdict?
I clicked.
This is big for you, Doug. This is big for you. This is big. All right, Danny. Sorry.
I would say like starting off, I don't think I would have because I was still like a little confused. But going through this conversation, I have clicked remind me because it looks very interesting now that I kind of understand a little bit more about what each piece does. So,
all right, Don.
I have also clicked remind me. I'm really tempted by this one. This might be the rare game where I resist going all in, because the base game looks perfectly functional. Even the base game, I think all the meeples are cool and unique.
Yeah, but look at those screen printed meeples that you put them in the boat and you ride them on the tiger and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, it's always tempting, but you know, that's $35 for screen printing.
I'm sorry, UV printing.
UV.
Oh, right, UV printing. Sorry, that's fancier. And there's some, you know, I gotta say the little Stonehenge thing that's one of the stretch goals looks so much better with the UV printing. But yeah, I don't know, the base game or that mid-level €89 pledge, you know, might just suffice for this game. You know, you don't get any of the stretch goals with the base game, but then you often don't need the stretch goals in games like this because you never put them in.
Yeah, I also have to say the majestic bridge is it is majestic. Like I don't know how it works, how you use it, but it's pretty darn majestic, especially the UV printed one.
I'm super curious about that bridge, what it does functionally. I might have to look that up.
Yeah, let's see. And you got your add-ons for, well, clearly you have to add on the pirates and barbarians, right, Doug?
Yeah, that's the solo and the co-op. So I believe it's included in one of the pledges. If you pledge, you actually get that as
I missed
well.
that.
Yeah, you meant, and that's intriguing to make this kind of game co-op. That's always interesting to me. Is it still fun? You know, that kind of thing. But just Don and I, we played a fair amount of Rise of the Gnomes, which can be competitive or co-op, and it works. I actually like the co-op more, but the designer tells me I'm wrong on that, which is always great.
But it's rare the game that makes that work, playing co-op or competitive. And
Yeah,
that's one that does.
Yeah. All right. Moving into the next one. I'm very glad you're thinking about that one, Don, because I'm thinking about it too. Whoops. So the next one is the Age of Comics. And for that, they are at coming up on $90,000 with about 1,700 backers. And the core pledge, we are talking about $44, collector's edition, $63, and that's their only rewards. And Doug, what's amazing about this?
So you're going to see a theme. This is this publisher's first game. So they are kind of the new publisher in the area. However, this grabbed me right off the bat. Anyone that knows me knows I'm a Marvel DC fan. I grew up with comics. I was that kid that rode his bike to the comic store every week and picked up all the new comics as they came out and sat down and read them all. And I even love watching the documentaries about this time frame, the golden years of the Age of Comics, back when it was National Comics and Stan Lee was first writing his books. And so this grabbed my attention, and it is also a editor placement, worker placement. So you're placing your editors to do different actions. It is not an easy to learn. It's in my opinion a pretty complex game because there's a lot going on. But the basis of it is you're trying to print comics, and you're trying to match up genres with writers and artists to make the best comic. So the more you match up, if you've got a sci-fi writer and a sci-fi artist, and you've got the ability to write a sci-fi comic, that gets you the most points. However, it's got a lot of really cool things about it. Like, you just don't write them. You have to go sell them. So this is back in the day where you didn't have comic shops. So you've got to send your salesmen out on their beats trying to sell your comics to different stores. And you can rip off of comics. Like if someone did a Superman, you can go, oh, I'm going to create a Super Guy comic because it's cheaper for me to do that. And I'm going to try to get some of their piece of the pie. So there's a lot going on. You're basically trying to earn fans and earn money. But there's the economies built in and building up the different genres and the specialties in those genres. So it does have quite a bit of heft to it. It's not as simple as you would think. So it's a heavier worker placement game, which is actually where I tend to lean, is the heavier games. And it's comics. So
who's first?
I think it's me.
All right.
I think it's me. So while like I was never into comics, so I'm not like really like drawn because of the theme. I think they did the theme really well. I was watching a lot of videos on this one. I just kept wanting to watch it because it seemed interesting. And so I was watching one of them, and they said that like every actual comic book that you could make in the game is like completely unique. Like they didn't just make it a generic, like this is the superhero box art, or comic art, I guess. And I was like, oh, that's great. Like the theme isn't what draws me, but I'm glad that they did the theme. Like they went all in on it, because it, like Doug said, it looks a little complicated, because I'm sure it was complicated to do this, but I appreciated that they put that much time into it. It looks, what was the time play though? Like it looks a little more complicated, but I didn't think it was a super long game.
It's about, they're saying about 60 to 110.
Yeah. Okay. So it is a little longer of a game, which that's still okay for me. I'm like at 3 hours is like, that's not my game, but that's not this game. So I liked it. I was very intrigued by it. And like I said, I wanted to keep learning more about it. So yeah,
usually when you're going above 2 hours, that's when I pause. I'm like, okay, do I really like this game? Because then if you introduce new people to it, you're definitely hitting 3 hours. I'm like, okay, that's a commitment. Like, do I like these people 3 hours long? It's
and
a
this
lot.
game doesn't seem like I would teach it to a lot of new people. It depends. I'd have to play it to see like how quick it is to teach.
Danny does it. She's like,
But
if you would like to come to my game night, here's the rules.
I-
Please master these.
no, I'll teach anyone how to play a game if I know how to play it.
No,
It's just
tell
I
you,
can't learn it quickly. Like at conventions, I am not the person that reads the rule book and then teaches. People can do that so well. I'm like, I wish I had that talent. I do not.
yeah,
Like,
I am I've become actually a big fan of if people are coming over for a specific game that's a little more complex,
mhm.
I will send out videos and be like, watch this. Because then we can learn it quickly and jump in.
Yeah.
It's like those heavier games are really, really satisfying, but like, damn.
It helps to have prior knowledge if it's a heavier game.
Yeah.
At least so
Like,
then if
yeah.
you're teaching it, you're like, oh yes, I do remember that in the video or whatever.
right. Like I have
Absolutely.
a copy of a Feudum sitting over there that just arrived that I'm committed to doing, and I'm committed to making Don do as well. But we have to figure out some way to get some prior knowledge on for Don, because
Don,
I've
it
been
sounds like
told,
you're gonna have to do some research.
yeah, because I've been told that if you have no knowledge of the game, it's easily an hour-long rules explanation. And
Ew.
that's right. Yeah, that's exactly what was funny.
That's
So
long.
this is a total tangent, but I was talking to the designer at Gen Con about it. And I was like, gosh, I was just looking and oh, what do you think about it? And I said, this is an intimidating game. I've heard, it's like a 4.8 on BGG, as far as weight goes.
Oh.
And it's funny. I was like, no, it's not. It shouldn't be a 4.8. It's really because people look and see how pretty it is and they just jump in and then they try and like, oh, this is really hard. It really should be like a 4.2.
Which is pretty heavy.
Oh.
Yeah, but it was funny when he was talking to me about it, and it's fun. And he talked me down, and I still wasn't ready to buy it. But I made a deal with him. I said, okay. I was like, if you want to send me a copy, I'll get the solo mode. That's an extra expansion for solo, and I will do a solo playthrough. It's and a review, because usually I charge for playthroughs because it's a lot of freaking time. But so that's a deal I made with them. So now I'm committed. But to do the review, it means Don has to come play it. So, because my wife's not playing it, like that
I
is
will make that
not
sacrifice
happening.
for you. Well,
It's funny because my wife, I think, would really like it if she played it, but 1 hour to explain. But anyhow,
Exactly.
that's not where we are.
And I don't think this is a heavy game. I don't think it's going to take an hour. There is just
No.
I think with the worker placements, what you have to get used to is it's like, here's the 16 actions you can take, and you can put your worker on any of them. So I think it's less learning how to play the game and with worker placements a lot of times, and it's more learning the actions that you can take. So even though that's one action, hey, you're going to place your editor on the game board and pick that action. There's just a whole board of stuff that you can pick. So you have to go through and figure out, well, this one gets me a new genre, and this one gets me a new artist, and this one gets me a choice of a new comic story. So there's a lot of different things that you have to learn about the game to play it. But on this one, the theme is just so amazingly built into the play. You'll see a lot of games that it's like, hey, we've got this game idea and we need to theme it. So we're going to put a theme wrapper around it. That's not this game. This game is the theme.
All right, Don, what do you think?
I'm right there with you, Doug. I'm not a big comics collector. It's not something I grew up doing. I've got a small-ish collection here, but I really appreciate comics and kind of their place in our culture. So I love this theme. I also love games about making stuff like this, especially creative stuff, intangible kind of stuff. So I love the theme. I love worker placement. I like the little map of the city you're working on. I even love the little comic book tokens, and the rip-off version of every comic is great. I think that's hilarious. And I'll say I even like the little, is it 5 or 6 mastery tokens that, like if you have the most of something, you get the mastery token. We were just playing Rainer Knizia's San Francisco last night, and it has like 1 master builder token that's worth 1 point. And this is a game where you can win with 10 or 12 points. So 1 point is a lot, but like that's the one thing you get if you have, the most buildings in your city. And my son and I were just fighting over that thing just because it feels good to get that. And so to have 6 of those in a game is really cool. I like that. So I have no criticisms of this one. It has an amazing looking organizer too. So as I said, I like that. I appreciate that in a game.
What was the your wife's comment?
Cute. That was it.
All
But
right.
she was very engaged in looking at this one, and she had more to say. But that I asked her what her comment was on this game, and she said cute.
All right. What's our verdict? Start with Don.
I clicked remind me last night, and I just backed it while we were talking.
Wow. Which level?
Outstanding.
That's a first. That's a first.
That
What-
is live. Wow.
what- yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, iLive reminded me. That was the
Sure.
first. This is a day of first. Did you go for the collector's edition, Don, or the regular?
Oh yeah, this is definitely an all-in one,
Okay.
especially because it's not that expensive.
All right, Danny, how about you?
I have clicked remind me for this one.
Wow.
Awesome.
Dang,
Yeah.
Doug.
I think you should
cool.
back it so we can have a double back live.
Whoa.
She's like, whoa.
Remember at the very beginning of this show when we went over how this is my only storage.
Well, she's gonna think
It's
about
running low.
it. She's gonna
So
think
I
about
guess
I really
it.
what
got
and
to
not
think
back.
about it.
I guess what I need to do is the next time we do this, I need to have a storage solution as one of the Kickstarters that I present so that Danny can
I
play more games.
love looking at anything storage. Like, how maybe you don't, but I get fed through my social media, like to look at like anything organizational. Like I will sit and watch, like, oh, yes, love it. I love anything organizational.
All right. Now, before I introduce the last one, I'm going to preface this by saying I'm actually working with the company on this last one. However, I did not know Doug was going to pick this one. Doug, I don't even know if you knew that I'm working on the campaign or not before you picked
I
it.
found that out as I was researching it, but it was one of those that I was pretty positive I was going to put on the list. And then thanks to a wonderful job on the video that someone on this call did, it actually
That's you,
decided it
Will.
for me.
Yeah. So the next one, and I'm gonna. It's possible, people watching, that you will not see the Kickstarter page because it's still in the preview mode, and there's still stuff being moved around. There's blanks and things, so you may or may not see it, or you might just see our smiling faces. We shall see. But the next one is from Dead Alive Games, and that is, whoops, if I can find the thing. There we go. And that is Lunar Rush, which is, I will also press say it's actually designed by my brother. And so Lunar Rush is currently at $0 with 0 backers and going for a funding goal of 17.5, and the base pledge is currently set to be at $39 with the deluxe pledge at $59 and the all in at $93. And so I'll kick it back over to Doug and tell us why you picked this one.
So I heard a lot about this at Gen Con. I heard a lot of buzz. I didn't actually get to see it or play it at Gen Con, but afterwards, talking to people, a lot of people said, hey, this is one you've got to check out. And it really is a theme that I liked, and it is simultaneous Euro style. And I have to tell you, I'm very spoiled recently with simultaneous play, to the point where when I play a game that's not simultaneous, it's like, oh, all right, I got to wait for my turn again. So I think that a lot of games are trying to do that. And I think this one does it well. The first thing that kind of put me off was the player bidding. But once I saw the system and how it uses cards and how you can't do back-to-back bidding, it was something that I enjoyed, that actual, the way they did the bidding. So it wasn't something like, oh, I don't want to do that. But it's basically a moon gold rush, which I loved. They've discovered a new mineral on the moon, or minerals that you can produce because of what you can mine on the moon, and it can only be produced there. So all of a sudden, everyone is trying to rush to the moon and produce all these and get back. But it's got that engine building feel to it too, because you've got to build new modules, you've got to upgrade the modules so that you can make more products, you've got to get the products back to the planet. So it looks very simple to learn, but it looks like it's got a lot of strategy built into how you play it. And do you bid high and go fast and try to do that, or is it slow and steady wins the race because you produce more? So I like those options, and I like what it's kind of a short play. It's not a longer play. It's not complicated. So I think you can get it to the table a lot more than some of the bigger games. So this obviously it's set to release on September 28th, the Kickstarter.
Yeah, that is Wednesday. And so for people watching, it's probably launching the day after or 2 days after this video posts.
Yep. So yeah, I would definitely suggest checking this out. This will be an insta back for me. As soon as it comes out, I'll hit the button. And I actually do watch for them to release. So yeah.
And the real question though is, what level? Are you a Wonders pledge? Are you a base pledge? Get out of here.
There is no base pledge. If you like it, go all in. That's just the way I feel.
There is no base pledge, only Zool.
Exactly.
All right. I think Don, you're first this time.
Yeah.
Don's coming at this with some real knowledge.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have my own disclaimers. Just the fact that the publishers here are good friends of ours. My son Adrian and I met them play testing their previous game years ago, I think 2018 maybe, and we've gotten to know them pretty well. One of the guys lives not too far from where Will and I are here in the Bay Area. We've been to each other's houses to play games, so we know these folks, they're friends. That said, I've played this game a bunch because we've play tested this. I have never ever won it. I'm bad at this game, and yet I still enjoy it.
You play this game with Don and you're battling for last is what it is.
That's right. Yeah.
Oh.
That's the win though. Because let me tell you, if Don beats you for third, like he earned it. Anyhow, sorry, go ahead.
But yeah, I also I'm always nervous when I see bidding in a game. But this bidding system is simple and quick, and it's logical. You're saying, do I want to give up points to go first because I really want the fast rocket this time, or am I okay letting somebody else waste their points and I'll go last because I have multiple options. This game is all about either the slow, powerful move up to the moon or the quick, efficient moves up to the moon. And then what are you going to make and how are you going to build your engine? There are a lot of options, for what resources you want to gather, what you want to produce on the moon, and then, try to be the first one to sell, because there's a cool market mechanism in this game where the more that a particular good is sold back on Earth after it comes down from the moon, the less valuable the next one is. And I enjoy that part of it. Any kind of economic thing like that, like Clans of Caledonia is a game that I love, where the market goes up and down as people buy and sell. So it's a cool, efficient game. It plays pretty quickly. It is easy to get to the table. And I'm really looking forward to seeing, because we know Bernie and Brendan, the publishers, really well. I know how much care they put into their production. Their last game came out amazing, and so I'm really excited to see what they do with this game.
All right, Dani, your thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I still need to play this game. I've watched your demo many times and it's always been great, but I'm like, I need to play this game with you. It seems very easy to follow, which I like, because going to the moon, you bid, you're going to the moon, you're getting resources, you're doing something with those resources. And I like to have that like kind of structure to my games because it helps me, because I'm also a social gamer, so I chat and get distracted, so I can then focus on it. And I'm really excited because I'm just happy to support you and your family, Will, and I know your brother designed it and you're working on it and it looks like a great game. So
So one of the little fun facts that I'll say is a lot of the stuff that's in this game, because this game was completely designed during the pandemic,
okay,
and so there is interaction in the game, but there's not a there's no screw you interaction. Like
Yes.
you can do something, and maybe I will beat Don. I see Don's got a bunch of moon crystals about to hit the market. Yes, I could outbid him, and I could hit the market first and make his stuff worth a little bit less, but it's also worth more for me. So there's no doing anything just to hurt somebody. The reason that is because my wife was one of the early playtesters, and she hates that mechanic.
Me too. I'm like, leave me alone.
And she pretty clearly told Steve that there would be potential danger if that was in the game. And so that's not in the game. Steve, he also was able to play with his daughter. Well, his daughter didn't like to wait, because she's, when they started the design, she was in 5th or 6th grade. And so she didn't like to wait. That's where all the simultaneous came into it. And I don't know if he did this in response to what I've told him about bidding, but he also knows that I hate bidding if you can lose and you get nothing. I hate it with every fiber of my being. I especially hate the games where you bid and then you pay your stuff and you still get nothing. Those are the worst. I just want to, those games can die in a fire as far as I'm concerned. But they're games. They don't have nerves, so it's fine. But so that's in. So it's a lot of, because it's weird. Steve all the games he's designed are exceedingly different. Like with the exception that there's space involved. He's got a thing for space. But so all those things are solely based on who was he able to play test this with, because it was during the pandemic, and that's how it kind of guided it. But that's the little story I'll share with that. So coming back to you, Don, what are you doing?
Yeah, I'm definitely in on this. I enjoy this game. Adrian loves this game and does win it. Usually.
Adrian's good. Adrian is the only
everything.
person in the immediate area that if they beat me, I'm like, that's fine. Like, that's it. I'm very good at this game, but yeah. Adrian's got a knack for it.
Yeah. So I'm in for this. I'm in at the Wonders Pledge, which may not be all in, because I understand there are going to be some serious add-ons for this game. I believe they're talking to Level Up Dice about some really custom, unique components. And Level Up Dice, if you don't know them, make dice out of, I don't know, precious gems and
minerals,
rare stones. And so their stuff is fancy and pricey.
Probably human bone. You can probably get dice made out of human bone. I don't know.
Sorry,
Level Up Dice. That's
we're gonna have to see how many of those add-on options there are and how expensive they are before I know if we're all in, but we're definitely in for the deluxe version of this.
Well, the good news for you and your family is that there are some enamel pins going to be involved, which Don's son loves enamel pins more than anybody I've ever seen in my life.
And he's an expert on
that's true
quality of construction and all of that.
Oh.
All right, Danny, how about you?
I will also be back in this. I don't know what level yet though, but I'm excited to watch it go on Kickstarter.
And the fun thing, now that we're on the video, Kim Breeze from Tabletop Rebellion is going to do a live stream of the TTS game, and we are looking for players if you want to be in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Doug, you too.
Know.
So yeah,
I would love to.
Oh yeah,
yes.
Count me in.
Yeah, that's going to be sometime in the middle of the campaign. We're going to have a live stream from Kim.
Okay, yeah. Include me in the info.
Yeah, we'll make it happen.
I'd love to. Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to learn and play this. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so
and like Don said, the market adjusting and the I don't even call it a bidding system. It's more like you're paying for the right to go first. Like you said, it's not I'm going to bid and lose. It's a fighting for first. So I like both of those.
It's kind of like Isle of Cats. It reminds me, because it's like your boots determine your speed and when you go. Everyone else still gets to go. It's just if you're the fastest, you get to go first. Which
it can lead to some interesting, because the way the market moves down, it can lead to some interesting dynamics of, like when I was doing the demos at Gen Con, I picked there's two markers. There's one that's just a very standard slow down, and there's another one that's more up and down, more variable. which really adds a bit of, well, shoot, I got to hit the market before Don does, because if he hits that market with 5 pieces of metal, that's a lot of points. But if I can get my one in there first, I'll get the max points, but he will also get 20 less total. So there's a lot of stuff going on, lots of expansions and stuff that I love in there. But anyhow, that's a very, very homer pick here. But like I said, Doug literally picked it without my knowledge. And if someone hadn't said, can you share the link to the page, I wouldn't have even noticed. So anyhow, so what I'm hearing is Doug picks better than me, because all 6 games have at least one remind me. Don literally backed live. Danny's thinking about some games that she would never think about before usually. Doug's backed everything. And I may wind up backing that Age of Atlas, or whatever that one's called. What's it called?
Atlas Lost.
Atlas Lost. Right. Age of Comics, Atlas Lost.
Games. Yeah.
Just put them together.
I was going to say, like, we almost have like an entire slate of generic sounding titles.
It's true.
Like we have multiple Age of games, and yeah.
Oh, yeah,
well, now the original title of Lunar Rush. Now, one thing, Steve does many things well. Naming things is not one of them. It was originally called Moon Mining.
And
I was
that's
like,
a good working title.
Yeah, I was like, Steve, that's terrible. That's awful. That is terrible. Well, he has a racing game that's really fun. It's been heavily considered by a couple publishers, but that was originally called Space Race. Just awful. Just awful all around. Anyhow, so we've reached the end of it. Doug, thank you so much for helping out. It's way easier for me, far more interesting for them, clearly, because you pick good games, I pick junk. And everybody, make sure you're checking out Sovereignty. Down in the description, there is my code for 60 days of platinum. They just had, or just about to have, another game, Squirrel or Die release. There's some other new ones coming out sometime soonish. Not quite sure when.
Pretty soon.
Keep
an eye. Follow us on social media. That's where we'll be posting a ton of our stuff. Or if you're not into social media, join the Sovereignty Discord.
It will definitely follow Dani on TikTok. She puts out so many TikToks.
I really don't. I put out one a week is my goal.
Oh, okay. Don't follow Dani on TikTok. She's barely ever there.
I am more of an Instagram is my focus and more natural to me. So
well, you put little videos on Instagram though, right?
Yeah, I do.
Oh, okay, that's what
usually like once a week too.
Oh, okay. So apparently I just go on Instagram.
It depends on how much time I have.
Yeah. So. And make sure there's still about, I don't know, maybe 100 copies of Backyard Chickens that you can pick up in the wild.
I think
so there it is. Don, you don't even have one behind yourself?
I guess I need to get
right
one.
There.
Yeah, I thought Don. Yeah.
Yeah. Boy, that's embarrassing for you, Doug. Wow.
Yeah.
Next time he's on, there's gonna be a Kallax behind him with all of the remaining Backyard Chickens.
Backyard Chickens.
And it's appreciated.
Yeah. But anyhow, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Everybody, thank you so much for watching. As always, if you enjoyed this, like, subscribe, share, do all that stuff. Leave it down in the comments which of these you are thinking about actually backing yourself, or if you did, just so Doug can lord it over me a little bit more. That he is better at this than I am. All right. Any final thoughts from everybody? Doug?
No, not really. But if you want to take a look at all this stuff I posted on Instagram at Board Game Collector. So you can see all the games going into my collection as they come in, and the few that I actually get to play. So I tend to, my Instagram is as I back more than I play. And as you can tell, that's pretty obvious.
All right, Dani?
Yeah, nothing really new. We have, like I said, well, for me, I guess, for Sovereignty, we have a lot coming up. So follow us on social medias. We're also going to be adding a little bit more to our YouTube. So if you're on YouTube and you want to go follow and subscribe to Sovereignty, that would be great. So we have some things coming out that maybe you'd be interested in checking out. You can follow me if you want to on Instagram. I have finally created my own Instagram, board gaming Instagram. It is MS.happygamer. So if you want to follow me in my journey,
And you
it's
know,
not
I
as
didn't even know about
exciting as
this.
dogs. It's brand new. I just did it like a week and a half ago.
Wow, didn't even do it. Oh, Don, we forgot. What was
Hmm.
Jess's one word comment about Lunar Rush?
Oh, we did not discuss Lunar Rush. Sorry.
That's fine. You
I-
gotta keep it cool. Gotta
Yeah.
keep.
Well, I kind of said I know everything about this. I don't really need to do research.
And she was like, "Oh,
So-
thanks. I've watched 5
Wait.
videos already."
We did look at the page a little bit, but she didn't have much to say.
No, I will say one of the things that they're talking about is a potential plushie of some sort. And the designer for it,
Oh.
something happened, they couldn't get it done. So they were looking at one point, this was a while ago, of using just AI art to come up with something. And Bernie sent me something. He's like, "Hey, you got moon plushie," and I said nothing for hours because it was just a train wreck. I was like,
Oh no.
I'm worried he's serious about and then later he's like, "Yeah, Brendan shouldn't be allowed to do AI art." I was like, "Oh, you were joking. Oh, thank God." But like there was a moment I was like, I don't
know what
I
to
need to
say.
see this.
like if he's serious about this, we need to have a discussion.
Hmm.
But if he's not serious about this, then I'm the asshole here because I'm missing the joke. So I'm just going to be quiet. But yeah, I'll show you. I'll dig it up when I come up later today, Don. So anyhow, everybody, again, thank you so much for watching. Leave your comments. We'd love to get more and more involvement with this. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Bye.
did that to
You
Luke.
got Flamecraft? It has
Yeah,
not
it arrived
arrived
2
for
days
me
ago.
yet. Oh,
I hear what you have to do is put an angry comment on the Facebook wall.
oh no! I will
For
not
There's
be
so
Peter.
that.
many.
I will not be that. Yeah, you're not special.
Don, I have good news. The show is now called Dialing In with Don and Danny.
Did you say
Yeah,
that?
that's for the next
You're waiting for
Calyx.
your
But
shoulder to heal.
yeah, I have shoulder surgery in 3 weeks, so I'm not supposed to be lifting anything more than 5 pounds, and that kind of
Oh.
hinders putting together a Calyx.
So no Badara for you, but maybe Flamecraft.
No. Well, if
Maybe
I can hold it in one hand, I got to get the balance down so the left hand can hold it. Right hand can't do it.
You need a task rabbit or something.
That's
Come
true.
and put my IKEA shelf together for me
And while you're at it, please put the board games on there.
and sort them in
Exactly.
a logical fashion.
Yes.
Yes.